Hey everybody, my name is Steve Babcock. I am the Chief Creative Officer of Vayner Media, and I'm currently in New York City, and I'm excited to answer a lot of your questions. And as I'm looking at my screen, there's a lot of questions, so let's get going. All right, question number one is, what is the story behind your advertising career starting in the mailroom? I mean, that's pretty much it. I was going to school at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, and at this point I was just kind of doing general ed things, but I wanted to go into film, I believed. And anyway, a friend of a friend knew someone at this big ad agency, and they had entry-level positions because I needed just some money for as I was going to school. And it was in the mailroom. It was called the Business Center, and so I got a job there. And while I was there, I just looked around and became interested in what was going on there, and that's how it happened. So it was by accident, but it's not really it's kind of not really a dramatic story. It's just that's how I discovered advertising, by sorting people's mail. All right, number two, it says in your bio, you list, your bio mentions a noteworthy list of campaigns. What campaign did you feel was your first big breakthrough? This may sound a little cliche, but I don't think I've done it yet. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know what constitutes a big breakthrough. Yeah, that's my answer. It's yet to come. All right, question number four is, what advice do you have for students with a creative personality? Any books, podcasts, sites that you would suggest a student to check out? That's a good question. There's tons, right? But I don't necessarily, I'm like the wrong person to ask because I don't necessarily subscribe to a lot of that. But there's like some traditional stuff like communication arts and looking at some of the things that get awarded, you know, Cannes Lions, One Show, etc. But I would say in general, just become a student of pop culture. Just really understand how culture works, meme culture, videos, all that stuff, because that's really the job, is to be a culture hacker, not necessarily to make advertising. So I would say a couple things: to become, you know, a scholar of culture, but then also a scholar of making and creating. So having a creative personality is one thing, but then being able to operate a camera or understand how to use Adobe Premiere to edit, or use Photoshop or Illustrator, or to write a script, like just get in and do that stuff. And today, you know, with the technology that we have, just start making stuff, anything. Like use your phone, grab some friends, make a short film, like just do. And that sounds like I said do, which my kids would think is very funny. It's not what I meant. All right, on to question number five. How did the Domino's pizza tracker idea come to your mind? There was well, it wasn't just my mind. There were quite a few people who contributed to this idea, but the story of the pizza tracker is really interesting because the assignment, this is back in 2008, and Domino's came to us and said, we need to drive more people to order online on our site. And back then that was kind of a new idea. And so we're like, okay, you know, and they wanted to do that obviously because it increased the average ticket price and decreased like hard costs, so you didn't have to, you know, spend as much to have a physical person there to answer the phone, and then that person might make mistakes and not get the order right, etc. But if we go online, the consumer is fully responsible to enter everything they want exactly how they want it. And then before they would go to checkout, they would go to like an add-on page where it's like, do you want breadsticks or da-da-da. And by seeing the pictures and being able just to click, you know, it was just, chances are people are gonna order more. Anyway, the benefits were there. And the classic approach would have been to say, like, order online for $1 off everything, in hopes of like getting someone to try it out and then get them in the habit. But we were really hoping to try to find something that wasn't like just to discount our product or give something away. And simultaneously, we were going through pizza school, because when you worked on Domino's, you had to actually go through a week of pizza school to learn how to basically run and manage a store. And we learned that between every station there was a physical button. So if I took an order, if I was the person on the phone, I was like, I took the order, put it in the computer, I hit a button. Then a person over at the prep station would take that pizza and be prepping it with all the ingredients, and when they were done, they would hit a button, and then it would go into the oven, and I believe the oven was like preset, it took like 6 minutes. A button, when it came out, the guy boxed it up, drove to deliver it, came back, hit a button, and then it split that delivery time in half to give the average of when a pizza was first, when the order was taken to when it was delivered. And we learned that every store does this, and it's kind of an internal competition. It's how I think managers are bonused, because it's all about speed and efficiency, and they could track every single second. And it just was like, wait a minute, you have all this information? Like, this is crazy. So let's just make it consumer facing and make that be the perk of ordering online. You know, originally you could only use the pizza tracker if you ordered online, and yeah, and now we all track our pizzas like it ain't no thing. All right, question number 8 says, how does someone become a copywriter? I mean, you just kind of do. Now, if you want to become a gainfully employed copywriter at an agency, you have to have samples of work to prove that you can, that you're creative, that you can write well, and etc. So back in the old day, we would call this a book. It was a portfolio. Just right now, what you do is you come up with samples of your writing, whether it's, you know, you make fake ads. We call them spec ads. So it's like, here's an ad I made for this company or whatever, and then you put them all on a link, and creative directors look at that and go, okay, wow, this person, I get a good sense of what this person's style is. You know, maybe you're like really funny, and that's great because I need that here, so whatever. And that's how you do it. You know, I mean, even most places, I know here at VaynerMedia, we have a residency program, which is kind of akin to an internship, and you have to have a portfolio or some samples of your work to get into that. So that's it. Number 1 is just start becoming one. Like, do the job, even if you're faking it, and then that's how you will get a job. All right, let's keep moving right along to question number 7, which says, what has been the biggest hurdle you have had to overcome since hitting the real world? Interestingly enough, real world is capitalized in this question, so it makes me think that this person feels like that I've been on MTV's The Real World, which unfortunately has not happened. I'm not 100% sure if that show is even still on the air, but if it is, my phone has not been ringing, much to my dismay, because I think I'd be a fantastic roommate, and I'd cause all kinds of contention. I'd be a producer's dream for a reality show. Come on. All right, I'm going to assume that by the question you just mean sort of like the real world, like post-school. Okay, now that we got that sorted, I haven't really, you know, I've been fortunate to, I don't feel like I've ever had like, you know, like a huge hurdle, like some physical calamity or some, you know, like fortunately. It's just been a series of consistent medium-sized hurdles that you gradually get over. But I would say one that, I don't know if I'll ever get over it or if I'm officially have overcome it, but a thing that, a hurdle that I know has plagued me in the past, and I think plagues a lot of creatives, is just, I guess you could call it insecurity, but it's how that manifests itself. So our industry is naturally very, very competitive. Even within the same agency, if there's like a creative brief and myself and my creative partner are on it, but then there's probably another team who's also on it, and it's like we're kind of competing against them. It becomes really easy to get cynical and critical. So like, say the other team gets their idea in and you don't, it's very easy for your knee-jerk to be like, oh, their idea sucks and da-da-da, you know, and really want to diminish their success because I think it makes you feel better. And that's been there's something amazingly like emotionally freeing when you get to a place where you can genuinely celebrate another person's success, even if that person, you know, beat you in a particular competition or whatever. But like, it's just awesome, you know, just to be like, look, I don't have to be the best. I just have to be my best, and I have to be valuable and helpful, and and just think every day, how can I contribute? I don't need to be in the spotlight, and that's, I think, it's a good place to be. And like I said, I mean, I think every day I'm still kind of working on that, but when you can at least be self-aware of it and know and believe that, then it dramatically improves the quality of life in this business. That was a pretty deep answer. But again, if the original question was meant to be MTV's Real World, again, I have not been on that show. All right, now it is question number 9, and it reads, if I want to pursue a career as a copywriter, what can I do during high school to prepare me for the real world? Again, the real world. This one is not capitalized though, so I have a pretty good inclination to believe that he or she is not referring to MTV's The Real World. I mean, that's it. It's just write. Like, write everything you can. Write articles. Write a funny screenplay. Write headlines. Write little video ideas. Like, just do that. And because a copywriter, what you really want to, like, the skill you want to hone is the ability to write in different voices. Like, I mean, it's assumed that people can string a sentence together, like, the spelling and grammar and those kinds of things, like, got it. But a copywriter's job is to be able to step into a brand that he or she may not have a passion for or even a knowledge of, to study it, to understand it, and then to be able to deploy that voice. So sometimes on any given day in the real world, in your job, you would be working on something for a really sincere brand that maybe targets affluent women, maybe it's a fashion brand, and then in the next hour you're all of a sudden over here making some goofy comedy stuff for a soda company or whatever. Like, so that's really the value of being a good copywriter, is being able to be very diverse in your voice. That said, you will also have your voice. Like, when you have no constraints, like, what's your natural style? So I think you want to look into exploring that, making sure you can figure that out. Like I said, some writers are very funny all the time. Some writers are really have like a stinging wit. Some writers are very poetic and emotional. Like, just write, like, don't stop. And then that's the best way to prepare. Number 10, guys, we have made it to double digits on our questions here. Hold on, number 10. That says, you are now the CCO of Vayner Media. That's true. What is it like having Gary Vaynerchuk as a boss? What's your daily job routine look like? All right, that's 2 questions. So it's like 10A and 10B. 10A is, what's it like having Gary for a boss? Gary's awesome. Super, like, he's a good guy. Like, that's really it. I find him to be just a good human being, He's not a perfect human being, nobody is, but he is a really good example of, like, someone who genuinely cares about people. And it's funny because if you don't know him and just see some of his videos or something, he can come off, and I didn't know him before I met him a couple years ago when they were looking for someone for this job. And I did a little research, well, actually just watched one video the night before I met him, and was really, in my mind, my gut reaction was like, I am gonna hate this guy, because my gut reaction was just, all right, he's just loud and and egotistical and arrogant and whatever. And meeting him, I was like, this is very strange. This is a dichotomy that I'm not used to. Somebody who is extremely confident, loud, but loud as in, like, he's not timid, and very, very successful. Usually that comes by stepping on other people, right? Like, but then to have somebody who also, like, genuinely really, really cares about people and is success, it was just hard for me to wrap my head around a bit. And now that I've worked here for, I mean, gosh, I'm just a few months away from almost 2 years now. That's what I would say. Like, I don't know how he does what he does. I mean, legitimately, he does sleep too, like, but I don't know when. He's all over the place, but he really, what I would say Gary is best at, you know, is not necessarily like the entrepreneur life or the hustle and all that, really. It's that he cares about humans, like, more than anybody. And I mean, sometimes to a fault, you know, where people will take advantage of him, but he just doesn't know, like, the definition of being political or any of that. He's just really, really a good human. 10B, which I forgot, was what's your daily job routine like? Well, depends on the day. Every day is very, very different, but my job as Chief Creative Officer is to ensure the quality of our creative product. And we have a pretty big creative group here. It's like 160, 170 people across the 5 offices. And so, yeah, I just try to make sure that I'm available. I mean, literally, really my day, every day is just come in and go wherever my calendar tells me to do, because it's just back to back to back to back to back to back, and trying to make sure that I'm offering support and service versus being like an approver or a dictator, because I really, especially an agency this size, but no matter what, it's like, it's all about hiring really good people and then getting out of their way and supporting them and being like, I work for you, let me know how I can help you. But it only works if you trust people to do the job you hire them to do. All right, that was a long one. Question 11. You have worked on some impressive marketing campaigns. Thank you. Is there any person or company you would love to work with that you haven't yet, and why? Not an advertising agency. Like, there isn't, like, I quite like where I am now. VaynerMedia is a super fun place to work, and there's just incredible amounts of potential, and the people here are great. So, like, there isn't like an ad agency necessarily. I'm like, oh, I would kill to work there. You know, growing up in my early years of the industry, that my Rushmore was Crispin, and I did that for a good while. So I would say if it is I don't know necessarily the business or whatever, but, you know, yeah, if I could just snap my fingers and be successful in another thing. This sounds kind of cheesy, but it would definitely be something in like I'd like to be a talk show host, you know, or like some sort of TV personality, like, or getting into entertainment. Or heck, if I could resurrect the old band career and be a successful musician touring around the country, I would do that too. But yeah, I don't know. The grass is pretty green right now, so gonna just lay back in it and enjoy the earthy, natural tones of green grass. All right, question 12. You had your own band. Huh, that's funny, I just talked about that. If you could collab with any singer that has ever sang, who would it be and why? Ooh, gosh. Okay, well, I'm not prepared to answer this question. This is heavy. This is the heaviest question of the lot. I don't feel like I'm gonna give you a good answer because there's so many great options, but what's popping to my mind right now? I would say this, well, because the question was who I would collab with. So that's taking into account like my personal music styles and the kind of music that I feel confident playing, and versus just music that I love listening to. So for example, I was gonna say Geddy Lee from Rush, and a lot of you young people are Googling Rush right now, so you're like, what? Because even when I was young, they were old. They've been around for 8 million years. But that's not music I would necessarily want to collab with. Which is kind of hard to explain. It's like, it's one of my favorite bands of all time, but I personally don't play that style of music. So that's good. I would say Dave Grohl. Like, that's pretty easy. Like, I'm more of a just straight up, like when I play music, just very catchy rock and roll. And that guy is, I look at him as the Elvis of our day. Like, he plays every instrument. He's just awesome. Heck, I'd love to collab with Dave Grohl. So let's just, maybe Dave is watching this. I don't know. Hey, maybe Dave is asking this question. Dave, if this is you, number 12, just hit me up. Hit me up on Instagram, just @SteveHappens, and I'll be there to collab ASAP. All right, we are now to our final question, which is number 13, and it says, any final thoughts, wisdom, or insight you would like to share with the students? Well, hopefully I've answered some questions and given you some sense of inspiration or at least clarity. Definitely hit me up if you ever have any questions. Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me, so please do. I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. General advice is ask fewer questions and do more action. You get a lot of, let me rephrase that. I would say just start going. Like a lot of times I think when we're like, I think I want to do this or I want to do this, we get stuck in research phase. Like we don't cross the starting line. We're like, well, because we want to ask, how do you do this? How do you get into this? What platform do you use? Versus just ask all those questions, but ask them while you're in motion. The very act of trying something and moving forward, it's funny how your own experience will answer your questions better than anybody else's experience. So, but if you're not moving in a direction and you're just asking questions and doing your research, and you can get stuck in that world forever, versus like research as you go, build the plane as you're flying it, and a myriad of other analogies. So that's it. Yeah, just go. Whatever it is you want to do, don't spend too much time asking how you get started doing it. Like, it's usually pretty clear. Just do it. All right. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me and for asking questions. And, feel free to hit me up. I'm available. Well, I'll try to respond. It might be a few days after you send me a note, but normally I will. I take the train home. That's some quality respond time right there. All right, again, thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Have a great day. Peace.